Rujuta, hi. Thank you so much. I'm really, really delighted to have a conversation with you. In fact, I must say this that often I have said that you're like this warrior queen or this warrior princess who has really fought against the whole an army of the nutrition industry and the food and the health industry, where you are completely driving the whole philosophy of eating local, seasonal food and staying fit. And it's always a delight to have another book from you. This happens to be your ninth book, which is Eating in the Age of Dieting. And I think it's an extremely timely book to have. I think it got launched sometime in the month of November, right in the middle of quarantine and COVID times, where all of us are completely overstressed and going overboard about what to eat, what not to eat, how to build immunity, and things like that. Tell me more about the book.
Well, first of all, thank you, Nisha, for those really, really kind words. It's always nice to hear them from, from women who are achievers, if I may say that. So thank you very much, because I really feel that while on the one hand, as women, we struggle to do many things, whether it's balancing our homes and work and life and all of those things. On the other hand, a lot of times it is us who don't quite feel worthy of food on our plates. So it's always nice to know that, that you like eating good food, that you've enjoyed my work. So thank you very much for that. This book is basically a collection of my columns and posts and notes from the last 10 years. And during the whole lockdown period, we kind of put them all together to what people were really most looking out for. And that's how this book came to life, really. So this talks about food in festivals, food as therapy, food as beyond calories, and food as really the wholesome unit which keeps all of us together. So this is about the multiple roles that food plays in our lives, because really, what is life without food? I mean, it would be absolutely boring. We would have no life at all if there was no food.
Absolutely, but in a country like India, food habits are constantly evolving. We seem to be imitating so much from the West, etc. So the first book that you released was in 2009, and I think that was "Don't Lose Your Mind, Lose Your Weight."
Yes.
How has things changed from then to now? I mean, do you really think that the way people approach food has really changed?
Well, there's an old saying that says, which goes, the more things change, the more they remain the same. So a little bit of that is relevant even in terms of food and trends and stuff like that. But see, I've been working in this field for over 20 years. And one of the things that I've observed is that the food industry constantly needs a new enemy. So first, if it was calories, then it was fat. Now it is carbohydrate. The enemy changes, but and the solution is always about just remove this and you're fine. And the end result is always that you will be thinner and you will be happier and there will be more love and acceptance in your life, those kind of things. Now, because of over the last 10 years, because of this whole social media influence and because of more, if I may say so, like scientification of diets, more number of influencers telling us what to eat and stuff. Now people are even using the exact same formula of just remove this and you will be fine. But besides happiness and besides love and acceptance, now it's also about keeping you free from diabetes, keeping you free from cancer, keeping you free from mental health disorders, keeping you free from everything. Like when you tell me a disease and there's a diet for it, So that's the one thing that I have seen change, that now there are more promises, but the solution is the exact same. If it is a solution which is just removing one thing from your diet. And interestingly, after my first book, Don't Lose Your Mind, Lose Your Weight, I also find that there is a lot more local, seasonal, traditional, for the lack of better words, noise out there. Of course, there are many people who are genuinely and sincerely going back to their roots. There are others who are monetizing this exact same return to native traditions or return to native foods. So now you have, so people now understand the importance of bajra millet, but don't quite have the confidence to turn it into a rotla. So now you have the pearl millet a salad or a finger millet pasta or a pancake made out of like amaranth, so you're picking up things but you're still dressing them up. So you've picked up one aspect, you're dressing it up in a foreign outfit. I'm waiting till we make a solid return to dressing them up exactly like the way they were meant to be, because some things just never go out of style. Good food, good nutrition, eating food in a way which makes it easy for our body to assimilate all of those nutrients, excrete the waste. That's timeless. You feel good about it whether you are in your 20s or 40s or 60s, and whether it's 1920 or 2022. It doesn't matter. Like those things are solid. So I'm sure that will change too.
That will change. But I'm just saying that, and I was confessing this earlier as well, that out of all the 9 books, I except for one book, I pretty much have all of your books, and I've read pretty much all of them. And this, of course, is the 9th book. For me, what I find is that the whole industry talks about a large part of the industry, in fact, talks about intermittent fasting, talks about keto diets, talks about gluten-free, vegan. And I think there is enough and more pressure that we all put on ourselves by eliminating food one by one. And so that's one side of it. And the other side is that in terms of food, it is either vegan or an avocado or a macadamia or a quinoa. These are the kind of food that you're often asked to eat. What I really personally, and I would love you to comment on that, but my feedback on this whole thing is that the reason I enjoy reading your books is because it simplifies eating, and it's so much more comfortable to eat. It's easily found in the kitchen. It's clean eating. Yes, there is a lot of discipline that you insist on, and you're pretty strict about it. But I think it just takes away the entire pressure that all these diet plans or nutrition plans come out with. Wouldn't you think so?
Oh, yes. That's the whole idea. The idea is for us to really embrace our food and our roots in their, in totality, and to also know that our health is interlinked with local economy and with the global ecology. It is only, if you think about it in terms of profits and bottom line, then it's important that all of us give up on our native eating habits and all of us adopt the exact same thing. So whether it is you in Calcutta or me in Mumbai or someone else in Rishikesh, all of us should be having avocado for breakfast, or a quinoa, or maybe a lettuce or an iceberg or kale and stuff like that. That's good for profitability and bottom lines. But if you're talking about waistlines and if you're talking about public health, then it's extremely important that we keep up with our diverse eating habits, that you are able to enjoy your chena toast or, and that I'm able to enjoy maybe my poha, or, we have to keep up with our diversities, whether it is in terms of movies or rasgulla or whatever else, because the more we eat like each other, the less we become what we are really meant to be, and then this whole coach of looking for ourselves is endless. And, the minute we begin to nurture ourselves with local food, which is in season, which we make in our own kitchen, the more we find that sense of stability, security, and no amount of success or popularity or weight loss, can ever bring that for you.
Okay, so while I enjoy reading the books as well, which you just said, I also love your style of writing. It is candid, it's casual, it has a lot of sprinkling on with Hindi. So this book, of course, has open letters by Gajak and Gajar ka halwa and whatnot. So, is that something which you've intentionally developed? Because I think it's very easy to understand, very easy to assimilate, and especially the youth of the country. I mean, if you're talking and addressing, we're radio people, we run a set of radio stations, and most of our audiences are youth. So, I think that's the language that they understand. And your style of writing is really brilliant and candid.
Oh, no, thank you very much. See, I wrote the way that it came naturally to me. So this is not just how I write, this is also how I talk, this is also how I live my life. Now, by chance, I have found success. So it seems like there was some design to it, but there is no design to it. I'm actually just like this. So I think one of the ways of I think one of the reasons why my writing works is also because it is more authentic, because I'm not trying to be smarter than what I actually am. I'm not scared of the fact that I speak very colloquial, and that I'm very Bombaya at heart. And thankfully I've had readers who have very openly accepted me for what I am. So I think that's really that is something that worked for me. I would have never written if I had to write like the way most books get written, because it's a very, I think, it's too intelligent. It's beyond me, and it's more like reading a textbook. But food is more about conversations. It's more about stories. Our food philosophy is hidden in stories, in our songs, in our proverbs, on the pallus of our saris. It's there in art, in culture, in rituals. Even if we want to taunt someone, there will be like a food ka kahavat which will go with it. So food is all of that, and that's why when you talk about food, I guess it's natural that life and sarcasm or candidness or whatever it is will kind of flow in with it.
And I think that also helps understand a lot better. It's not technical. The language is not very difficult to understand. And Stefan, I do think that philosophies and thought processes like yours should be spoken out there in mass mediums like radio, like digital, because the larger audience is youth. And I think today they're all craving for the right direction, because there are many there to give multiple directions. I think it's very important to choose the right direction, and especially during these COVID time, Rujuta, I've always felt that mental health and depression has taken a big toll amongst many sections of the society. What kind of a role does food play in helping elevate depression and eliminate rather depression and things like that?
Well, we all do know that there are foods which help us feel better. We all also know that we act out with food so often. Eating something and then going and throwing it all up is a well-known mental disorder. Constantly wanting, constantly fearing that if you eat, you will not look good is another kind of a mental health issue. Now with this whole, COVID times and everything, all of the challenges and the unpredictability that it has brought in, I think almost everyone has felt that it's taken a toll on their mental health in one way or the other, to some degree or the other. People have been sitting in front of their laptops endlessly. There has been eye strain, there has been brain strain, I think there has been bone and joint strain, there has been heart strain, all kinds of it. And what we know is that COVID, in a way, has also allowed us to rediscover our own kitchens. It has also allowed us to understand that food plays a much bigger role in our life than just making us thin. It can boost our immunity. It can make us feel good. It brings us together as a society. And, when we are angry with someone, we don't feel like eating. When we are bored, on the other hand, sometimes we just eat to bring ourselves out of boredom. In fact, there is a term, it's called the quarantine 15, to basically say that a lot of people during COVID and during this, the quarantine times ate so much of packaged and processed food that on an average, people have gained about 15 pounds or 7 kilos in the last 8 or 10 months. And all those of us who kind of discovered home cooked food and ate together as families and committed to like maybe some yoga at home and stuff like that, even managed to lose weight. So yeah, food and mental health is extremely interlinked. In fact, low hemoglobin levels is associated with poor mental health, and we invariably have low hemoglobin levels or low B12 levels or low vitamin D levels, even when we come from backgrounds where there is enough to eat, simply because most of the times we are scared of eating food which gets cooked in our own kitchens. So it's like if I have to eat, let's say, a home cooked biryani, I would kind of think mere liye acha hai ki nahi, maybe tomorrow I should run in the gym to kind of burn this off. And if I call for a pizza from outside, I'll be like, listen, I deserve this. So this whole thing of, we seem to deserve, and we have earned all of the packaged and processed food, and all of the home cooked food is what we need to burn off. So I think that is also something that we all need to overcome in our heads. But yes, the better we eat, the lesser micronutrient deficiencies we have, and the lesser micronutrient deficiencies we have, the better our mental health gets. So it's really about staying basic, eating on time, eating your breakfast, lunch, dinner, eating your mid-meal, having your jhalmuri in the evening, having that dab, that occasional gulab jam or rasgulla, eating that nolan gur when it's in season. And really, that's really the recipe of good life. Eat the nolan gur right now, not in May. If we just kind of keep up with the basics, we would all be quite thin, happy, attractive people. And yeah, good health comes in all sizes, in all shapes, at all ages, at all weights. The minute we accept that, I think weight loss industry has no role to play in our life.
I think probably it's more about fitness than really about being thin. I think that's something you've always mentioned, and you've always been focusing on exercising or doing yoga. In fact, there are chapters in the book which is also talking about yoga postures and things like that. So you've given exercise enough weightage besides just food and nutrition.
Oh, yes. See, it's like this, that if you're eating right, you feel like exercising. If you're exercising, you automatically feel like you're better, much more committed to eating correctly. It is, though it's often like people say, okay, aaj kha lo aur kal treadmill pe bhag lena. People who are actually running on treadmills or who are doing yoga or lifting weights in the gym never really feel like, pigging out on anything unreasonably. Even if they're eating a cake, they've made a solid decision to eat that cake. It's probably the best cake that money can buy. They're, relishing every bite of it. They don't need to burn it off. This whole thing of, constantly wanting to burn off things. I think we should just be happy with what we are eating and stay extremely productive in our daily life. That's the best way to burn off everything, not just food, but also all of our negativity. Otherwise, all that we do with our lives is weigh ourselves 5 times in the day, So the best way to get rid of that is to get more productive. And the best way to get more productive is to keep it simple with food.
Excellent. But as a nutritionist, what are the kind of challenges or some of the toughest moments that you have actually faced over the last so many? I'm sure you would have had multiple stories that would account for another book. I'm sure. but I'm saying any tough moments, any challenges that you've really come across where you really had to struggle, particularly in the industry.
Interestingly, no, I don't have any challenge story to sell really. See, you must understand that by the time people come to me, they have tried and they've done everything. I'm no one's first choice. I'm everyone's like last choice. They chalo abhi ye bhi karke dekh lete, So I come in that category. It's after people have done all the ketos and the IFs and the 20 hours of fasting and the detox and the spa in Australia and everything. After everything is done, only after that are they like, all right, chalo abhi kha ke dekhte hain. So I actually get people who are already in a mode to listen to reason because they have tried being unreasonable and it has shown them weight loss, but with that their health has also gone, and whatever weight that they had lost, the double of that weight comes back in less than half the time. So they have done it at least 5-6 times before they actually begin to value a more commonsensical approach. So in that sense, I have not really had any challenges as far as my work goes. In fact, like you said, it's like I have found a lot of acceptance for my work, and I feel extremely fortunate for that. I feel it's one of the biggest blessings. It's, if you ever told me 10 years ago that you write a book and you know even 100 people will buy it, I would have never felt that that can ever happen. But thankfully there is an audience out there for this kind of work also, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So no challenges, but the only one thing that I remember is that very early in my, but this is more of a learning experience than a challenge really. uh, I worked with a woman who was 112 kilos, and she told me that, I would be very happy if I just got under 100. And then over a period of time, she got under 100. And then I thought she was going to be happy, but she said, no, I would be very happy if I just saw 99 point whatever. So then she saw that figure. Then she said, I'm tired of being in 90s. I want to be in 80s. Then she went to 70s. Then she went to 62. And I remember her sitting and telling me that she was so unhappy because the last 2 kilos were not going. So, that's when I felt that this is terrible. I mean, we forget that we've come from 112 to 62. That doesn't seem to give us all the joy, but the last 2 kilos that you're not knocking off brings you all the troubles and miseries in the world. I mean, that's the kind of influence that the weight loss industry has over us, I mean, I can almost bet that there is no woman who looks at herself and feels that she's good enough, that she's fit enough, that she is, that she's absolutely fine. Most of us look at ourselves and think, yahan se thoda wazn jana chahiye, wahan se jana chahiye, yahan se jana chahiye. Most women will not realize that they're saying something really terrible about themselves when they say, I open my wardrobe, I try many dresses, and there is nothing that I'm looking good in. I mean, this is all much more of what's going on in our heads than really what's going on in our bodies, So,
But I
I
think
think.
also the media is also extremely responsible to
Oh, yeah.
to build in these kind of pressures, to build in what is good looking, what is not good looking, and how should one be,
Yeah.
how thin one should be, what size should you be, etc. And even in fitness, I think whether it's nutrition, whether it's fitness, I do see a lot of people around me as well getting now extremely obsessed with it. And I think when you get over obsessed, it becomes a little difficult to lead a normal life, because you're saying no to everything. You're saying no to even just simple get-togethers, etc. Because you don't want to eat after an 8 o'clock. You don't want to eat anything fried. You wouldn't want to eat gajar ka halwa, which in this season, I'm sitting in Delhi right now, so in this season it will be brilliant.
Yeah.
So yes, I think media plays a huge role in terms of conditioning the mind, and hence I think we need to be a lot more responsible.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think media does have a big role to play. I mean, you'll see this. I mean, that they'll put a very, very skinny person on the cover, and then they want you to like have self-acceptance and self-love at any size or whatever else that it is. Or they may put a so-called fat person on the cover and talk about how they lost weight. And I have in fact, Nisha, now seen people on their social media profiles put a bio which says was 72, became 52, had HbA1c of 9, now of 5.4. I'm like, I said, why is this from your bio? I mean, how is this any kind of an achievement really, But yeah, it's really like that, you cannot be thin enough, you cannot be rich enough, and people are going to dictate what you should be like. And the faster you realize that no one else outside of you should have any kind of they shouldn't be the ones who are taking calls on what you will eat, when you will eat, how much you will eat. You need to be deciding that for yourself. And that is something which, earlier when I started working and I would tell people, okay, eat as much as you want to, they felt that they were not getting their money's worth. That if they've paid me, then the least that I should be able to do is tell them exactly how much to eat and when to stop eating. And then I would need to tell them that, listen, if I start doing that, then after me, you're going to need another dietitian, another weight loss program. The only way this becomes your last thing that you've tried is if you learn to take the responsibility for yourself. It doesn't matter if you overate today. At least you know that you don't feel good after overeating. The next time you are tempted, you know where to stop. So people just sometimes need to have that courage to depend on themselves to take those calls. And another interesting trend that I also see is that in women above 40, because let's say that from 0 to 40 we kind of lived our life which was dictated by other people, or by social norms or whatever. And then I find a lot of women who after crossing 40 are like, okay, now I'm going to live my life on my own terms. And most times this live my life on my own terms is just about losing weight and looking like how you used to look when you were 16 or whatever. And then I always tell them that, listen, but were you feeling good about yourself at 16? Because most times women don't feel good about themselves at 16 or 20. It's like, so now at least like you finding yourself shouldn't be about you finding yourself by just losing weight. There has to be much more. And as a consequence, if you drop some kilos, great, but that cannot be the main purpose or the main journey that dictates your, I'm going to do my, I'm going to live my life on own terms. This cannot be another diet. It just needs to be something much deeper than that.
But then, besides the whole celebrities whom you handle from different kinds of celebrity from different fields, I've also seen you travel to different parts of the country, smaller towns, giving lectures, and I've seen them on social media handles as well. And it's great joy to just watch you speak there. How do you think they respond? I mean, how is their feedback? Do they embrace it more quickly than most people from, let's say, the bigger metros? Is it more easier to help them understand that seasonal food and local food is what is actually nutritious, or what's your take on that? How do they respond?
Well, I think people at, whether they come from metros or whether they come from rural areas or anywhere else that they come from, and this is something that I find even in terms of professions, whether people belong to the profession of defense or they're school teachers or CAs or CEOs or actors and stuff. Everyone has the exact same weight loss myth, so everyone believes that green tea is healthy. Everyone feels that kam calorie khana chahiye. Everyone is scared of eating rice. Everyone is scared of gajar halwa. Everyone is scared of paratha. So the myths are the exact same. Yeah. And irrespective of where one goes, whether one goes to let's say a small town or whether one is in a metro. And I think once you do a good job with kind of putting your point across, if whatever that I'm talking about really kind of strikes a chord with them, or serves the purpose of education, or there is like information or advocacy about eating more local and why that could be good for their health and stuff, then I think they're much more likely to change their eating habits to something which is going to be healthy for them and for their economy and ecology. Because really, Nisha, I feel I'm doing a very, very easy job. See, I'm not talking about something which is revolutionary. I'm talking about things which always existed in our homes. I'm talking about things which resonate with our dadi and nani ke nuske. I'm talking about things which people already deep within believe. So in a way, it just makes my job like very, very easy. You say things which people already know. They just need an external voice to say it. And then when they begin to change their eating habits and they feel fitter and healthier, somehow they're more than happy to give you the credit. So I'm really living off the credit of India's collective wisdom when it comes to food, health, and well-being.
I love your snippets on the book, which also talks about why not to take haldi shots, why not to take jeera shots. So here there is everyone talking about having all these shots early morning, haldi shot, amla shot, jeera shot, etc., to build an immunity, and you're saying don't have it. So so it's radical, it's different, but I think the whole purpose that you're really trying to say is over abuse is what one should avoid, right? Everything in smaller quantities and the right quantity is what should be.
Absolutely. See, this is exactly what I was talking about. It's like, over the last 10 years, we've all discovered that chalo abhi local chalta hai. है, so तो local चलता है तो इसको चलाओ, but then we don't know how to चलाओ it, we don't have the confidence to चलाओ it, that okay, if haldi is good, and haldi is good when you're doing a tadka, when you're having haldi milk, or the only time that you really use a lot of haldi is during haldi ka ceremony, और फिर दूसरे दिन गला कटता है, so I think this whole doing haldi shots and stuff like that, this is just about us saying, okay, if this is good in this quantity, then a lot of it in large quantities is excellent. We've done the exact same thing with even ghee, like instead of doing ghee on our rice or on our dal or on our roti or paratha, now it is also on top of our coffees. So it's like, okay, now if this is good, then a lot of it in alien ways is even better. That's how the weight loss industry works. It's just business as usual. But the fact is that even superfoods work in combination. That superfoods work in time-tested proportions, when they are meant to be eaten. It's like a game of cricket. You need 11 people. You need them to do well. You need pujara, you need pant. Only then do you have a victory. You can't be like, okay, I'm just going to be pant, or I'm just going to be pujara, and I'm bringing the cup home. It doesn't work like that. So it cannot be, either a sukha paratha or what is it called, or ghee shot coffee. The beauty and sensibility is something in between. It's a teaspoon of ghee on your paratha, it is milk on your coffee, it is haldi inside your milk and in your tadkas, and not in shots. Shot lagane ka hi hai to vodka ka lagao, or haldi ko spare karo. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think this whole conversation has been completely reflective of what I said in the beginning of the conversation, which is that you just make eating a pleasure. And you take off the pressure off everybody. So I think all the books, and particularly this one is great because it is also a compilation of a lot of things that you have written over a period of time on social media.
Yeah.
So I think it just makes it a lot easier. So it's called Eating in the Age of Dieting. Rujuta, what are your other books that you read, which you like to read beyond nutrition, when you have some time off?
Well, I really enjoyed my partner's book, Land of Flying Llamas, because this was again about traveling in the Himalaya, the people, the culture, their food. So that is something that I really enjoyed reading. I also enjoy Harish Kapadia's books on the Himalaya and on Sayadris. Then I like Sunita Narayan's book on on first food. The book she calls First Food, because that is also about diversity, about food, about how our communities have eaten. I like BKS Iyengar's Light on Yoga. I mean, that's a book that I go back to over and over again. But the book I read every day is the Upanishads, So that is something that I land up reading almost every single day, especially when I'm not traveling. That's how I start my day. So, yeah, I think there are way too many books. I'm not much of a reader, but my partner...
Then who's Rujuta beyond the consulting, beyond the nutritionist? Who is the real person?
Oh, no, nobody different from, who I am as a consultant. I don't have two personalities, one who is me in my real life, one who is me in my work life. It's the exact same for me. If you did my work, most of my work is just about sitting across the table, chatting with people, I mean, there is nothing formal about it really. It's more like a nice gossip session with your best friend where you exchange a few food tips. So,
and also be a little more strict with them.
Yeah. With different people, you have to be different things. With some people, you have to give them little leeway. With some people, you have to be strict. With a few others, you must make sure that you don't talk to them at all. So, I think different things with different people. But yeah, you remove work, and I think nothing is left inside of me then.
Oh, that I can relate to that. But it's been lovely talking, lovely talking to you. I'm delighted to, of course, have a conversation at the Apeejay Kolkata Literature Festival. This is the book I'm going back to reading once again. And Rujuta, thank you for joining us, and it's been lovely connecting with you.
Thank you very much, Nisha. Likewise. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.